are very, 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 very busy with all of the orders coming in for our Passover to go, the Seder. We're doing it at home at my house with my son, Dean.
Hello.
So I thought that we could bring in a recipe that I already have all of the ingredients at home, which I think a lot of us are going to be doing this year for our Seder, and creating some of the matzah caramel crackers. And it's super easy. We've made it for many years. I'm letting my son, Dean, take over the recipe this year. I'm just kind of here as a support coach. And we're going to get started. The only thing that we've done so far, I'm going to turn my screen around so it's not my face, is we've preheated the oven. So it's currently doing that. And we have lined a very large cookie sheet with foil. We're going to add on, what are we adding on, Bugs?
Parchment paper.
A sheet of parchment paper. So the foil is like a barrier for the cookie sheet, and then the parchment paper helps the super ooey gooey cracker not stick to the foil. That way the foil doesn't rip once you pull it off in the end. Perfect. Okay, so this recipe is pretty easy. All it calls for is brown sugar, butter, vanilla, sea salt if you have it, a little vanilla extract, which is also optional, and chocolate chips, and any other toppings of your choice in matzah. So our first step is Dean is going to work on making the caramel toffee mixture. So we're going to turn on the oven, or the stove rather. You got it? Perfect. It's a very loud one. Okay. And to that, we're going to add in the butter that we've already cubed. It's 1 cup of butter, which is about 2 sticks. And we've just cut it into large pieces. Is it hot? All right. So what should we do at the top? You should turn it down. And this is also a great recipe to make with kids. You can also take it off the burner. Yeah, that's yours to use. Okay, and just so you see, he's following this recipe, which we'll post later. It's a recipe we've used for a while, and I think it's by Smitten Kitten. And when it's not Passover, they say a great substitute is actually saltine crackers. But we have matzah all year round. Yep. So you're going to put those in together. Yep. And we've got 1 cup of packed light brown sugar. Needs to go up a little more. Perfect. So what are we looking for?
For it to all mix together.
Uh-huh. So you might have a little bit of a difficult time because I took that butter out of the freezer.
Deform that butter.
Unstick that butter.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just stirring. We're not as cool as Chef Kevin. I thought about this just before we went live. We should have probably made a batch, but I don't know that I would have had any to show anybody because that goes quick in my house. All right, why don't we turn it up just a smidgen since that butter is frozen. So we're gonna bring it up over medium heat until it begins to boil. And then once it boils, we want to let it bubble for about 3 or so minutes. And just, we continue to whisk it, because if we don't, what happens?
It'll not do its thing.
What happens with sugar?
It'll burn.
Sugar burns very quickly.
I'm gonna try a little more.
You want to turn it up a little bit more? You can do that. Yeah.
Too hot.
This is our good burner. I know everyone has probably, at least we do at our house. We've got one burner that's the best working burner that we use all the time. And this happens to be it. There you go. See how it's starting to bubble on the edges?
Yeah, but the butter isn't dissolving.
Ooh, that sizzle sound. So good. All right, so you want to make sure you're scraping down the sides. There you go, because otherwise you'll feel in spots where it started to stick, right?
Mm-hmm. Butter is quickly going.
Yeah.
Faster.
The butter does start to melt pretty quickly once you get that temperature. Yeah, that's about a medium. Do you see any texture changes down there?
Yeah, it's getting to adding some spots.
Yeah. What about smell? No smells, those allergies kicking in?
Yep.
Yeah. Let me check that. Yep. They're still in there. They're still in there.
Oh.
Oh, the dog is stalking us. Man, this is exciting, I'm sure, for all of you on Facebook, just watching our lovely brown sugar mixture start to caramelize.
Oh, yeah, I feel it.
Yeah, you can see it start to stick and thicken up. Yeah. So what we might want to do is pull out a whisk.
Mm-hmm.
So just pull that out and put that, rest on one of the bowls. Watch your arms. Use the whisk. Is it too hot? Yeah. We really want to incorporate in that butter and sugar mixture. And do you see once you get that air in there, how almost immediately it's starting to change that texture?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, it's gonna thicken. Oh, it's already thick. Look, feel that difference.
Mm-hmm. Has the little peaks.
All right, so now that we've thickened, go ahead and turn it off.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'm gonna stir it for you. We're gonna measure out the vanilla. And we're gonna add in 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla. I always kind of add in an extra splash. You can measure it over the pot so that if you have any spillage.
Another one?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, I can't drop some.
Okay, just got the side of the pan. All right, and then next, because we're doing something sweet, you want to add in a little bit of savory so you get that balance on your tongue. We're going to add in just a couple turns of some sea salt. We happen to have it in a grinder. You got to flip it upside, yeah, flip it upside down, and you're going to turn it just like 2 or 3 times. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. And this is all to taste. Okay. So your next one is we're going to lay out 4 pieces of matzah. I'll keep stirring this for you. 4 pieces of matzah, and we've got the good old manischewitz. We use egg matzah that kind of stays in our house year round. Yeah, they're not going to fit super beautifully or evenly on your tray, so just break them.
Break them?
Yeah. So what you want to do is you actually want to have it down in a single layer. And do you see how the matzah has the lines? So yeah, break it right where the lines are.
Oh.
It's okay. And you're going to piece it in because what we want is all that ooey gooey, delicious sugar mixture to go on there. It's totally fine. You can make them stand up. Yeah, just like that. Perfect. Matzah never really breaks the way you want it to break.
Nope.
But then the cool thing about this too is once we pour the sugar mixture over it, we'll break it up into a bunch of little pieces. No worries on perfection. My little perfectionist. Like I said, it's all approximate. So if we don't quite get 4 pieces on there, it's A-okay.
Might just save this one for snack.
Ooh. Okay. So this part is hot. We're gonna cover our crackers. Oh, are you eating on the job? Okay. So I'm gonna give you this to go put on that paper towel. And then we're gonna pour this to try to coat as even. And you're gonna use that spatula from earlier.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. Look how ooey gooey this is.
Just spread it out.
Yeah. Okay, and the other beautiful part about this parchment is the stuff that doesn't make it to the matzah, it still hardens up and crystallizes really nicely in the oven, and you're able to keep kind of those scraps, which with my favorite word is delightful. I use that word a lot, huh?
Mm-hmm.
You've got to move kind of quickly, but not super, just because as the caramel starts to cool, what does it do, Bugs?
It hardens.
It gets hardened. So is that easier or more difficult to move it around?
Difficult.
Yeah.
Like 6 minutes.
Right. So what are you doing right now?
Just spreading it out. I'm going to cover all the stuff.
Right. So this is the part where I'm going to ask you to speed up just a little bit so that we can get, because it's going to get really hard over here and you're not going to be able to get to all of the edges of the matzah. Oh, we'll have to make some more. Is that what you just said? Did I get that on camera?
Yep.
Oh, man.
How terrible.
Oh, man.
Oh, that's all. Just knowing me.
Okay. Are you ready to put it in the oven?
Need a couple more seconds.
A couple more seconds? All right.
Maybe I need a countdown.
Countdown. Oh, my goodness. I think we need a countdown. I'll give you to the count of 5, okay?
Okay.
So we've got 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hands off. All right. So we have preheated the oven to 350. He's still over there eating that matzah. I guess it's gonna make him wash his hands before we got in here. All right. This goes into our oven and it bakes for about 13 to 15 minutes.
It's like 14.
Nope, set it at the lowest time because we can always add more. We can't take away. Perfect. All right. So once that's done baking, we'll pull the crackers out and add in some of our toppings. What we've done is we've got some chocolate chips, and this is one of those times where I totally encourage you to see what you have at home already. We found that we had some Reese's peanut butter baking chips that were actually OUD. I was super excited about those. Since this is dairy, since we use butter, because you could totally use margarine. Oh my goodness. And we toasted some pecans, but actually I think we'll toast a little bit more and show you how we did that. Huh? Those are already toasted. So we're going to toast some more since you've already told me that we have to make more.
Yep.
Nope, our pecans are right here. We get them each year from Houston Pecan Company. It's our favorite nut and dried food. You're going to take a few on here. Oh, so many. There you go.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You got to show your good knife skills. You're going to use this one right here on the drying rack.
That's not how to lay them out.
Huh? Well, since you're going to chop, you can chop them in a group.
Oh,
Okay. And what do you got to watch for?
fingers.
Mm-hmm. Watch for your fingers. There you go. I feel like this is one of those parenting moments where I should like take it off camera just in case there's something on there that someone's like, oh no. Okay, so you want to rock your knife when you're doing a chopping motion. Not so much like that. We're never have your fingers under. It's gonna rock.
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna let you hold the camera. Don't get me other, just my hands. Really using that rocking motion.
Yeah, some good pecans.
They are some good pecans. They're the mammoth ones.
Mm-hmm.
Another yummy thing to put on top is toasted almonds or pistachio, kind of like that toffee that you get from the rodeo that you love so much.
Yep. So that's
Okay. It's a good, nice rough chop.
Yep.
Okay.
all even.
It's all even. No, that's not a chop. Chop's just, it's a rustic chop. All right, go ahead and shoot the stove. Okay, make sure you're watching what you're seeing on the camera.
Let's pouring that pecans in.
We are. When we toast something, how long do we toast it? Do you know?
No.
When you know how it's done?
Making noise or?
Well, you smell it with your nose. It starts to smell pretty fragrant. It toasts pretty fast, and you'll also see a change in color.
Yep.
Do you see how these are a little bit lighter and these are a little bit darker?
They have dark spots.
Mm-hmm. Move them around.
Probably can't do
Oh,
that.
you want to do the camera so you can try that? All right. Just kind of swirl it. There you go. All right. You want to put it back on the heat so we can get some more heat on there.
Okay.
Well, now we've just got like about 9 minutes. You want to take this down and check on so we can see what our food looks like so far. Let's see if we can try that on light. Can you see in there?
Should I open it?
You can open it. Just do it very briefly because we don't want to change the heat.
Yep.
Oh, look at that
Bubbling. Yep.
Mhm.
It's bubbling on the edges too. Make sure that isn't air too much.
So I'm actually, let me turn this around now that I'm all toasty in here because the oven. What you don't know is our moderator, Jennifer, is an excellent cook as well. So I'm going to pump this to her and just kind of open up for dialogue as we're waiting for this timer. Is this something that you've done at home?
We actually do not make this at home. We
Really?
usually make, I know, and it's so easy and we should. Usually we make cakes is what we usually make, Passover cakes, instead of matzah.
Oh man, you're probably tired of the matzah after the Seder, right?
Yeah, we usually use the rest of our matzah for pizza matzah.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Instead of the sweet matzah, yes.
Right?
Our go-to Passover dessert is a sponge cake. But this year is going to be a little hard because it's hard to get a hold of a lot of eggs these days. So we may have to try a few new things.
Yes. Luckily we had, I know my aunt is either hopefully watching this now, otherwise she's watching it later. I'll switch the video camera around. We made her batch of Passover mandel bread
Nice.
If you see, it's already been opened, and the little, gremlin hands steal it because that's next to the coffee pot. But that's one of our other super delicious go-to Passover recipes.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked about this Passover cake of yours. It's like super light and fluffy, and you've got a special trick about that.
Well, so I used to like to read a lot of Passover recipes and had a hard time finding ones that I really liked. So I actually took my year-round angel food cake and converted it into Passover cake. So a little trick is if you look at the matzah cake meal can, there is, if you read all the little fine print, which no one ever does, there's a conversion for that. So it says if where you would normally use a cup of flour, you use this much cake meal as a substitute. Since it's a little more dense and it soaks up a little more water, it's a little bit less flour. And I found it actually works pretty well.
Perfect. I just pulled out we have all of our Passover stuff out in the dining room. And it is nice. Because here they've got Passover brownies and their Passover mandel bread.
Mm-hmm.
Me too. Not bad.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things because you could totally do whipped cream with your cake and the berries.
Absolutely.
Have someone hiding out in the kitchen. What are you going for?
Orange juice.
Uh-huh. So we had blocked off to try to get out the little gremlins, but that little one found her way in.
Yeah, that was not impermeable.
It was not. That's just part of the, quarantine at home, making do.
Okay, so somebody asked on Facebook what you're making. So tell me the actual title of this recipe so I can add it in here.
Perfect. The actual title is called a chocolate caramel cracker.
Perfect.
And so to make it for Passover, you just use matzah. To make it year round, you would use saltine crackers or matzah. I like matzah because it's already large. It's not salted because you get a little salt from the sea salt, and then you get a little bit of salt for some if you sprinkle it back on top at the end, kind of that sweet.
The sweet and savory together is
Yes.
perfect.
Yes, because sometimes I like those chunks of the salt, especially if you make one. Because I've done ones where we've sprinkled like cranberries on top, or just make that kind of that toffee, almonds or coconut, all sorts of things. Let's take a look.
Ooh.
So now it's
Yeah,
bubbled
that's
over,
looking good.
right? And it's totally covered our sheet, which is where you can see now the huge importance of that parchment paper. And so we just got about 4 minutes left. Okay. Oh, you got the orange juice? Perfect. All right. And I went ahead. We keep a lot of our stuff in the freezer. So the chocolate chips were frozen. I like them cold for this recipe because it kind of, when you sprinkle it on the hot caramel, it melts, but it also allows some areas to have still these like chunks of chocolate, especially if you're mixing the two types of chips. It's kind of something we do here. I toasted my pecans a little too much, but it's okay. Okay. 4 minutes. Although we're perfectionist, impatient bakers. So what we'll probably do is, what we try to do when we do this too is, I'm not so great about it, is cleaning up as we go. I'm constantly teased. We do need that. So
Actually, we've had a couple of people join us after you started.
Perfect.
So your recipe is super simple. Can you just go back through the ingredients you've got there?
Absolutely. I'll do it so you're not just looking at my oven. Again, like I said, I'm toasty in here with the oven shut off. We are making a chocolate caramel cracker. It is 4 sheets of matzah, 1 cup of unsalted butter cut into wedges, like not wedges, like pieces so it melts easily, 1 cup of packed light brown sugar, sea salt, preferably flaky. I've used kosher salt. I just don't like the iodized salt. It has that different flavor to it. half a teaspoon of vanilla extract, which I double, and then 1.5 cups of chocolate chips or 9 ounces of chopped semi-sweet bittersweet chocolate, and then 1 cup of toasted almonds, pecans, walnuts, nuts of your choice. Again, the nuts are optional. It's just kind of to enhance your toffee. And I've got my son back here who's obviously it's lunchtime, and so he's figuring out what he can find to eat while we cook.
He needs lunch to go with his dessert.
Apparently. This is like one of those few cases where I was like, okay, don't worry. You'll get lunch or you'll get dessert before lunch. And he's already decided that we're making more, so we're not cleaning the pots just yet. This is kind of our sample. The toffee comes together super quick. You add the butter and the brown sugar, stir it. You've got to stir it constantly. My glasses, oh my goodness. Stir it constantly so that it doesn't burn, and it comes together super quickly. We have used the spatula, but really in the last few moments, I like to add in the whisk to get that air in there and to really incorporate the butter and the sugar. I'm going to stop talking at this point because we just got the mark down from the oven that it is time. All right. Oh my goodness, it smells so good. All right, will you move over those chopped pecans? We're taking out this beautiful caramely mess. Okay, and you can see kind of the couple of the edges where the matzah stuck out, and it gets nice and crispy and toasty. All right, so what you're going to do is you are going to sprinkle over those chocolate chips, and you're going to let it stand for a few minutes. Let's start with just the chocolate chips. Yep, and be careful because this pot is hot.
So you sprinkle them?
Yeah, sprinkle them all over.
Just do this.
Yeah, you could totally just do this. Just remember the pot's hot.
Not happening.
And another thing we've done with those picky eaters is we'll make a whole basic batch like this, but we'll like divide it out in thirds. So I may even let him do that with this case so that we don't have to wait for the next batch for him to eat. Is we'll take, yep, remember it's hot, sugar's very, very hot. You get some over here. Is we take it off in thirds. So like a third, we'll go ahead and add those peanut butter chips, and on another third, we'll add the pecans. Here, some over here.
Oh, it looks like we're out.
Yep, because I use the full 1.5 cups of, in this case, we use milk chocolate chips.
Can I just bring that?
Huh? Well, I'm just going to show. It's one of those things where you're supposed to let it sit for about 5 minutes so that the chips can really melt. So you can see right here, they don't melt so well. So we're doing it, it's a little too soon. I just wanted to test it out.
It's melting.
Yeah. Well, they get melty, but see, when you do it too soon, it pulls up the toffee.
That's no good.
That's no good. No bueno.
What do we have next? Just letting that dry again?
Yeah, we gotta let that kind of melt for a couple minutes, and once that melts, the chocolate is going to still be kind of soft. So the way you store this is once it's completely cool, you throw it in, or I guess not throw it. You can keep it in, we usually keep it in a container so it doesn't stack. And I like to put it in the fridge so that it comes out super crispy and there's no kind of melting with the chocolate once the kitchen gets really hot from cooking or anything like that. But I know it's one of those things that it's safe to sit out. It just needs to be in an airtight container. Sometimes when we're super, super impatient, not with this part, you've got to be patient with this part. To speed along the setting of the chocolate, you can throw it in the freezer. Do we have any other questions or comments coming through? I know it's a pretty easy recipe, so I don't anticipate too much.
Don't have any questions. But this looks like fun and easy to do with kids, and you can be super, super creative with whatever kind of toppings that, you know, each and every one of you like.
No, definitely, for sure. And then let's see if I can do this. All of this goodness right here, that'll break off, and you can keep the little crispies and use them for toppings on sweet things for sure. Like I know sometimes we use them to go on top of like ice cream or other yummy things.
When we add the other toppings.
When we add the other toppings, oh, you're really all about those peanut butter ones?
Yep.
All right, so why don't you pick a section and sprinkle those on. I would pick a section. My suggestion would be that doesn't have as much chocolate so that it doesn't get super thick.
Right here, maybe?
Yeah, go for it.
Empty areas.
But I think from start to finish, this is one of those really quick recipes. The actual like involvement is probably 30 minutes, maybe. The hardest part is really waiting
For it to cool.
Right? I mean, because I can't even go in to describe it. It's so crunchy and crisp, and it's a nice alternative to a lot of the softer things. You're being very creative with your section. I see it starting to spread a little bit.
I think his section is taking over.
I feel as though that is a valid statement. Oh, make sure you leave me a section without that.
You can have this section.
I can have that section. Thank you. Perfect.
A very small corner is yours, Ashley.
Okay. I got it. Perfect.
You can have these two sections.
Which section?
These two.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wait, now that we've walked through it, are you going to make us a batch? Like, is this first batch yours?
I guess it should be.
Yeah. Is this what you'll make for our Seder on Saturday or Saturday? Oh my goodness.
I guess
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh my goodness. This homebound stuff. I have no idea what day it is.
Monday.
Monday? Perfect. I know it's April. And you're very meticulous about that. So this is, one of the easy parts. It's a great recipe to do with kids. As you can see, my son's 7th grade, but you can definitely go younger, older. It just depends upon the level of parent involvement. Obviously, more with the littles and.
Okay, you can have all of this.
Oh, you're still talking about what's my portion?
You can have like in the middle, and I'll take this one too.
Yeah. All right. So let's check that spatula again and let's check my section, because the more you spread those, the longer we have to wait to spread the chocolate and add the pecans. Yeah, go ahead. Do just a gentle spread. I think yours won't be quite ready. Oh, look at that ooey gooiness. Right? You can kind of do that swirl.
Does not look pretty anymore.
Doesn't look pretty anymore?
Nope.
Well, you want it to make kind of it's not supposed to look pretty, but see how well that spreads now? To really make this layer, because you don't want to bite into a huge chocolate chunk. Yeah. You kind of want to spread it out. And then the chocolate will take a while too. That's a pretty color. Yeah. So we can spread up. See how your section has this peanut butter kind of running through it. There we go. Look at that. See, patience.
Beautiful. And now all that melted chocolate and gooey good stuff makes a nice glue for the rest of your toppings, right?
It does. You only have one more of what? Oh, your toppings? Yeah. Okay. So it's nice, big, brown, peanut buttery, chocolatey blob. So much
I don't think
perfection.
there's any section left for you.
I know. It's okay. It's okay. Next batch is mine.
Perfect.
All right. Sprinkle on your pecans. You want to do kind of a light-ish layer. You're good. You're good. Because Poppy's the big pecan eater. So make sure to leave about half of it without. So stop right there. And then just put pecans on this side.
Oh, I want some pecan.
Oh, you want some pecans too? Okay, fine. Next batch is totally mine. I'm all about the nuts and those extra things. I like them separate. I like to get the crispies at the end.
I love those.
No more, baby. No more. All right, let's see. These are some of the extra toasty ones we just did. These ones I figured we were doing a full tray. Huh?
So the shell.
Okay, so yeah, now at this point, this is where you could add on like sea salt, which I may do just a little sprinkling on some of the areas, but it has to, like, you have to have patience on this part to let it sit and set up so that it gets really crispy, because you can already see kind of how this is, it's still pliable, but here we can see this. This is the parchment. So this parchment is crucial. It feels like overkill with the foil and the parchment, but if you've got those supplies at home, don't skip this step. So now this is all I have for you guys today. We are gonna patiently wait for this. Probably try to try to see if we can find room in the freezer to speed it along, but we just break it and cut it into pieces and store it in an airtight container, and it is good to go. You want to eat it now? It's okay. So that's it. I'm signing off unless there's any questions or comments.
No questions, but super easy. We'll post the recipe to the website. And yeah, thank you so much for sharing your kitchen. And that's great.
Perfect. I hope you all have a happy Passover. And we've got 2 more programs, lunch and learns before Passover, and then our virtual Seders and all of that good stuff, which I'm sure Jennifer's put in the chats and Facebook. And, you know, we're here for you, Beth Yeshurun.
Head to the website. It's all there.
Yeah, definitely. All right.
Have a great day.
Guys.
Bye.
Bye, Dean.
Bye, Dean.